Welcome to the Oil Stream here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio, as well as those watching on YouTube. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with here, YTT in the studio as well, producing things behind the scenes. And
is he okay?
I don't know. We're live in the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen studio, and we got subs brought in. Zach to come and Lieutenant Eric went to go get some stubs. Firehouse Subs is open up in North Edmonton. Yeah. And right before the show, Trev has his in his box, and he just leaned down and sniffed it. And then shimmied and stuff. He was really excited. I'm just right as I'm about to start the show. And that's all I see is him go down and just went, ugh. And just, I don't know what's going on over there.
You're a weirdo.
There were some things happening before the show as you and I were like, yeah, let's go. And he's muttering things over there. So
he called us dorks.
He was mentioning SpongeBob.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on over there.
Munchies.
But he says he's gotten us a lot of really good sleeps lately, and he's in a great mood today.
He is in a good mood.
So it's wonderful to see.
Yeah.
But that's why I was laughing to start. I just saw him lean over.
I missed that.
And just sniff it. And then, again, he had this little shimmy to him or something.
Really good subs, by the way. I had half of the extra one Zach to come brought. It was the Italian, I believe. Great bread, great sauces, fresh cut meats. Zach was saying they do everything in-house. Firehouse Subs. Is it an American chain that's now making its way up here? Is that what it is?
I think so.
Yeah.
Dusty knew of Firehouse Subs it's a big deal or something.
Really good. Really good.
See, I think it's an American chain that's coming to North Edmonton, 127th Street, 167th Ave, so Newcastle area. I don't know the official opening, but there was a VIP event that Lieutenant Eric and Zach to come went to go check out while you and I finished up with the hangout with Scott Laurie and Murray McCourt, which
awesome.
Murray was fired up today. He was passionate, and it was great having Scott in where I could talk a little soccer, and we spread some culture.
Yes.
To those listening to the hangout.
Where are you going? Just to eat myself. Oh, okay. Okay, get out of here.
I've got the mouse.
Yeah, okay.
I'll figure it out, the buttons and stuff. Just walk through.
He is in a good mood.
Don't go quick. There you go. That took a little too long. You really were in the camera a little too long there, Trev. Yeah, so you had the sub. You enjoyed it. Seems like everyone's enjoying it. So I'm going a little bit later after the show today to go check it out myself. Do we just dive right into this right now?
Dive right in.
We could get to some other stuff later. We got a lot. We will have a qualifying opportunity for the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival VIP table to the Friday show. But let's get into this game. And where do we want to begin? Is it passion? Is it intensity? Do we want to talk with physicality? We're going to start with goaltending. Where would you like to begin, Tommy?
Evie in the nasty chat said, I'm just here for the Skinner drama. You want to talk about the goaltending?
Let's start there.
Work our way out from the crease. I believe the boys on the morning show, Jay and Eric, did that. And that's something we're going to hear from Stu Skinner. He's been requested by the media down at the rink. No skate today. It's just a players' meeting that they're having, or they're having meetings, and then they'll do the availability. So Skinner,
which is at noon scheduled avail. So if anything comes up, we will throw it out there for you quickly here on the Oil Stream.
Absolutely. So Skinner hasn't been good enough this series. That's 100% accurate. The sub 800 save percentage in 2 of 3 games. No bueno. I think the one game he was 860 or 870 in game 2 where they won. I'd have to go into his game log. I'm just trying to remember the stat. I saw the board off the top of my head yesterday. He hasn't been good enough.
792 game 1, 842 game 2, 733 game 3. So for the series, I think we had it at 793.
Yeah, that's awful. That's fair. The defense in front of him hasn't helped. They were so bad in their own zone, especially in that first period yesterday. You do need a save. The goal that irked me the most, if I'm looking and pointing the finger at Stu Skinner, was the power play goal by Lindholm, the 4th one, eventual game winner. A, there was crappy coverage in front of the Oilers net on the PK. B, Lindholm kind of had the puck stuck in his feet, and I think it was Ekholm was backing off, and then Skinner's looking for it, and then Lindholm just softly shovels it underneath him. I thought that was a bad goal. That, to me, was the worst one. The Fogle turnover was brutal. Yes, I'd love to see a save there, but Besser is a tremendous goal scorer in the NHL. The other one that Besser got was busted coverage in front of the net where I believe it was McDavid and Ekholm followed a guy into the corner, left Leon Draisaitl in the slot. He was looking around, and I believe it was Bouchard who had his man, but they just left the middle of the ice way too soft. Bad read, busted coverages there by three key guys, and it led to a goal. So for me, it was the fourth goal on Skinner that I had the most issue with. But his body of work in 3 games in this series has not been adequate. Very simple. Now, do I think they should go to Calvin Pickard? You asked on the Hangout, what would I do if I was in Chris Knobloch's position? I'd probably strongly consider Pickard, maybe even go to him. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to go back to Skinner, and you pointed out on the Hangout, too, that his bounce back after losses has been excellent this year.
Yeah, Greg Wyshynski had it yesterday. I'm going to see if we can find the stat for that one.
And he is your number one. That has been established. He's had a bad 3 games.
It's not even close. Like this isn't one of those situations where he's been anointed a starter late. He's been the starter like since November or whatever. It's a clear number one. Per ESPN stats, Stuart Skinner's 9-1 after losses this season, including 8 wins in a row. Like the thing I have with Stuart Skinner, I know that I was following the Nasty Chat last night on your post-game show.
That was fun.
You guys were getting ripped for being Skinner apologists and, Belzy and Cass that, how dare you go back to him? And I saw people go, seriously, if you're not starting Pickard in Game 4, then I'm done. I'm not watching the games as if, like...
Come on.
Here's what I'll go with Skinner, because this is, to me, the exact same as last year in the second round. Skinner hasn't been bad. He hasn't been awful. But he also hasn't been pretty good or better.
Stole a game for
no,
first round. We have to remind.
Yeah, I'm talking about this series. I'm going to look at these 3 games. He's been, I think, the best I could say. Okay, to your point, like it's hard to rip him for some of the goals. Like goals 1 and 2, I'm with you.
3 in Game 1 that I stand by disliked severely.
In Game 2, the one the Zadorov awful goal. Last night the game, the third goal to me. Even though Fogle had that turnover, that's where you're hoping that the goalie can make a big save. That's the thing Skinner's not doing, is that when your team has a mistake or something, he's not making that huge save that you're going, oh, how did he save that? How did he make that stop? How did that happen? And that keeps the team in it. He's just okay. And in the playoffs, if you want to be better than that, if you want to win Stanley Cups, you need goaltending that's better than okay.
You could go good to great goaltending.
And so through 3 games, he hasn't been good enough. He hasn't been there. And I understand why there's a lot of frustration. But I also see a situation where I don't look at the other options as guaranteed great options. Like starting Calvin Pickard in Game 4, are you running Calvin Pickard to a Stanley Cup final?
No.
I don't think so either.
No.
Like I'm saving that if I'm Chris Knobloch for, I think, one more time. I'll get ripped. I give Stuart Skinner the start next game easily.
I think that's what happens tomorrow.
I don't think if you're Chris Knobloch, if anything, if you're trying to get Stuart Skinner going, I think you show him. We pulled you last game, but we've got confidence that you could be this guy. Go and prove it. With that said, though, as I said on the Hangout, it's a short leash, though, for me.
Sure.
You can't afford to allow things to slip away. You can't afford that to just keep the confidence of Stuart Skinner up. If he lets in a few bad goals tomorrow, I have no problem then going with Calvin Pickard and then seeing what Calvin Pickard could do. Right. But it's not like who's sitting behind. This isn't the Boston Bruins situation. We have Swayman and Ullmark, right?
No, it's vastly different.
Calvin Pickard's not the guy. And I don't care about the money that Jack Campbell makes. It's no
point.
Like I saw it on the National Jet too. You're paying him $5 million. What are you paying for my $5 million for? Play him. Well, no, no. It's been a mistake.
Yes.
The contract's been a mistake.
Yes.
And when was the last time he played a game even?
2 weeks ago for the Condors. Jeff says, you two are such homers. Pickard couldn't be worse. Yes, he could be.
Absolutely he could be.
How could you say he can't be worse? He could let in 5 on 10 shots.
We could sit here and say the 4 goals that were let in were all atrocious.
Yeah.
We can't say that right now with Stuart Skinner. Absolutely he could be worse. Like, Stuart Skinner has not been a tire fire in net.
His numbers suck.
Was Jonas Gustafsson? Was he the bad goalie for the Detroit? Was it him? Like, he was a mess.
The monster, yeah.
Yes. You're not seeing that from Skinner. This guy had a good first round. He had a good season. He's your number one. To me, he's worthy of throwing back in the net for Game 4 in a 2-1 series. Let's not forget, it's 2-1. And if the Oilers, we'll get to the other stuff, if they produce in other ways, if they bring a little bit more physicality, if the depth steps up, if they put the puck in the net as opposed to hitting the post, they win games. So it's not as I don't think the Oilers need to be as panicky as Oiler fans are right now.
It's 2-1.
It's 2-1.
Bounce back.
With the argument that it could be 3-0 either way.
Right.
I'll throw that out there. It could be 3-0 for the Canucks, but the Oilers could be up 3-0 in this series as well. Sorry.
No, all good. That's just the goaltending. That's just Skinner. So I think he probably starts tomorrow. But I would be looking at Calvin Pickard. Short leash, like you said.
Has to be.
Defense. Outside of Bouchard and Ekholm, even Ekholm, I talked about it earlier in the show, didn't like that fourth goal. And yes, I that's the one on Skinner. I say, what were you doing on that? How does a guy just shovel it past you underneath you like that? Defensively, this team was bad yesterday too. Not just the blue liners, but defending as a 5-man unit. They've had trouble doing that this season. That popped up again yesterday. Kudos to Vancouver for being tenacious, forechecking hard, physical on the Oilers. It worked. But Warren Foegele and that backhand to nobody that led directly to a goal, awful. The busted coverage goal that we talked about, awful. Not stepping up on Lindholm on that power play, awful. The point shot, those ones are frustrating, but there's screens and there's movement in front. Fine. But those other three, what are you guys doing? Simple things. Simple things. And it didn't happen. They weren't executing properly. They were sloppy. They were beating themselves at a lot of instances in the game. So I think that they are capable of cleaning it up. That's why I look at this, and yes, they're down 2-1, but I'm not going, it's over. It's not trending in a good direction, but they can stop the bleeding. Depends how they want to show up tomorrow. Be physical. Play like assholes. Give Vancouver a taste of its own medicine. See how they like it.
By the way, there was a hearing for Carson Soucy that will happen for the cross-check on Connor McDavid. Zadorov, he got a $5,000 fine. So we'll wait to see what happens with the NHL. A phone hearing, we've seen it happen actually, but I just would find it weird if it's just a fine after a phone hearing.
I think
there was one moment that happened this season. I can't remember which one it was where there was a phone hearing, and I think it ended up being a fine. I can't remember where it was that was in the NHL. But I just feel like to have the call and then just be like, "Here's your maximum allowed fine of $5,000."
No, I think if they were doing
it's a game.
they would have announced it with Zadorov.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see him get one game. Also, I don't think it should be more.
Yeah.
I'm good with the one. I'm good with that. We're getting ripped for the Stuart Skinner stuff.
I don't care.
Dr. Nutsy Dielson, who's you met on Friday at Hudson's?
I did.
Sent him.
Good dude.
You could say the goals on Skinner have been atrocious if you aren't going out of your way to make excuses for him. We're not going out of our way to make excuses for him. I don't think those, I think sometimes you have to give credit to the goals that do get scored by the other team and what Besser did on a couple of those goals.
Oh, he was gifted plenty of space and time on two of them.
Just beautiful shots.
Good shots.
There's not much. Sometimes you have to give credit to what happened the other way. We're just too quick to want to rip on Stuart Skinner with some of this stuff.
Keep in mind, we said off the top, he has not been good this series.
I don't think I'll go this far. We're not making excuses for him, but I think we're being a little more fair by saying he hasn't been atrocious, but he hasn't been great.
Yeah.
Anyone that thinks he's been atrocious, I think you're being a little too much of a fan and emotions running into this. That you're upset that the team's not winning. Yeah, if I have to put one reason as to why the Oilers lost yesterday, I'll go to goaltending first. Because on the one side, they got goaltending that let in goals, but also made some key saves in big moments. And on the other side, you had a goalie who let in goals but didn't make the key saves. Right. So I could go number one being on Stuart Skinner for that. But I also understand that this is a guy that can play well. This is a guy that can go in net and help this team win. And I do understand that if the rest of the team showed up in games, either games 1 or 3, they could have won those hockey games.
Correct.
I don't look at those 2 games and say the Vancouver Canucks outplayed the Edmonton Oilers, and the Oilers were run out of Vancouver on game 1 in Edmonton last night, and they didn't have a shot in it.
again, the Oilers shoot themselves. They're their own worst enemy. They shoot themselves in the foot. Their defensive coverage in the first period was atrocious. 5-man unit, brutal, stupid plays that led directly to goals. And then, yes, they didn't get the save. Like, these are fixable problems. They can fix them in a hurry. It's up to them. It's between the years. Belzy and I were driving back from the rink to get set up for the post-game show, and he goes, what do you think Edmonton's number one problem is? Like, if you look at this team, what do you think its number one problem is? There's probably people going, goaltending right now, and I get it. I understand. It's between the ears of this group, and always has been. It's like when it's time to dial it up and kick it into high gear when they're chasing a game like they did in the third period last night, they can. Why can't they do that from the outset of games? They haven't done that enough times this year. And even the start of the season, Belzy was like, what do you think that was? I'm like, well, I think these guys get a little too caught up in how good they are, how everyone praises them. They do have all this high-end talent. But at the end of the day, you watch them and you go, why did you not execute there? Why were these passes sloppy? Why was this? And it's all these simple little mistakes that mature teams, and we were giving Edmonton credit for having a mature first round, they don't make those mistakes. They eliminate them in postseason play. Edmonton hasn't done that in this round. And I think it's between the ears collectively. To me, that has been and still is their number one problem. Yes, the goaltending hasn't made the saves. Yes, the defense and the forwards in front haven't been great, but it's just, to me, it's in between the ears of this team collectively.
I also just, one more thing on goaltending before we move on. I do look at just these playoffs. He had a bad game, too, against LA here in Edmonton.
He did.
It was an 808 save percentage.
Yes.
Next game, 964 save percentage. That's the other reason I go back to Stuart Skinner is he has shown, even in these, and I'll just go to these playoffs and this regular season, that he could go in after a loss and play better.
Yeah.
And I'm giving him that shot if I'm a coach because he's my number one goalie.
Correct.
And I'm going to believe in him and I'm going to throw out there. Again, I have a short leash though if I'm Chris Knobloch. That's what I said on the Hangout. That's what I said on this show. That's how I do it. But that, just even going to the last series where poor game, cost the team, we could sit there and say lost game 2 on Stuart Skinner, came back, had a strong game in game 3, and we'll see how this whole team responds. And the Oilers go win tomorrow. Everyone's going to be happy again. Everyone's going to be playing the parade route, and you're not going to be calling for Calvin Pickard to start game 5.
Right.
So that's all the Oilers have to do, and that's all Stuart Skinner has to do. Go win that hockey game. Best of 3.
Skinner is speaking to the media right now. Our good friend Dan Murphy just tweeted out a photo and a quote from Skinner. Huge scrum around him. Obviously didn't speak to the media last night. The quote from Skinner was, "Last night the emotions got the best of me. I felt I let the team down." And that was Skinner when asked why he didn't speak post-game. So that's not like him. He's generally not like that. He's a very generally even-keeled guy. Not afraid to talk when things aren't good. And yesterday wasn't one of those moments, a rare time for him where he lost it. So, interesting. We'll see where this goes.
2 more texts I got to go with. Nasty chat, at least.
Go.
Zulu, the Oilers are going to die on the shoulders of Skinner. We all want Pickard, but it isn't happening. And then Dr. Nutsy Nielsen again. Is it better to give him a game off or to pull him again? Well, okay, one, if you give him the game off and Pickard wins, great. Then you're riding Pickard. I get that.
And you're brilliant.
But if Pickard loses, here's the problem with this situation, too, if you're Chris Knobloch. If you go to Pickard and he loses, you've now told your goalie and Stuart Skinner, we don't trust you. You went to Pickard, you lose, you're down 3-1, and now you're going back to Stuart Skinner saying, we need you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, bro. We were just messing with you. Get out there and win one for us.
Psych.
There is the mental aspect to all this where if you go to him in this game or in game 4, you're giving him the confidence as a coach that we believe in you. And if you lose, then you're going to Calvin Pickard. But flip side, if you go to Calvin Pickard and you lose with him, how do you go back to Stuart Skinner? You've now just messed with him and his play out of emotion. That's the way I'm looking at this, out of emotion. So we'll keep tabs on what's coming out of those scrums and get that to you. This is the Oil Stream here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Portions of this hour brought to you by Boston Pizza. The playoff menu is now available, featuring the halftime square footer flight of wings, the triple play platter and the new Chipotle chicken quesadillas. Fuel your fandom at Boston Pizza. Tom Gazzola and we should double check. Joaquin Gage. You guys will be doing the oil stream on Wednesday. North St. Albert location of Boston Pizza from noon to 1. So be sure to come join them on Wednesday. Again, the North St. Albert location. The physicality of this team.
Non-existent.
Let's just go to the last final buzzer. Connor McDavid cross-checked in the back, cross-checked to the face. Nothing happens. Is that a sign of just like a perfect example of where the Oilers were at in that game yesterday?
Sure sums it up nicely. I mean, I know they're capable of playing with sneer and playing mean, but there's some theories that those guys were so tired because they played 30 minutes last night that they didn't have it in them to show some fight. But if I saw that and I was on the ice and it's the team's best player, you get mad. Like, you turn it to a bull seeing red and you go crazy on them. Now you want to walk that line, and it's a fine line where you don't do something so egregiously stupid that you're getting suspended, because all those guys that were on the ice at the end of the game are super important to the Oilers, especially in this playoff run, especially if they want to tie up the series. But you would go after Soucy, after Zadorov, I don't care how big that, you jump them. You jump them. You tackle them, you bring them to the ground, you throw some punches. You're not getting suspended from that. Now, if you start wailing away and smack them in the head with your stick, cross-check them in the head with your stick the way Soucy, then you're getting a suspension. But you go and you show you're not taking that, and that them doing that, Soucy and Zadorov, to the best player in the world, is unacceptable, will not be tolerated, and there will be punishment inflicted on you for even attempting to do that. I know those are big guys, but that's one where you go berserk mode. You should.
Well, Cass was saying last night on the postgame that if that was him, like, he would have jumped off the bench and went out there and done something.
Exactly.
You would just like a better response. Like, even if it's not even the suspension or something, you would like a better response, I think, overall.
That's one thing, and that's at the end of the game. But how about throughout the game? There's discussion about the first shift of the game. Ekholm gets run over a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Throughout the game, it was always like the Canucks were inside the Oilers' equipment. Todd McClellan always used that term. You know, you don't have to be the biggest guy. You don't have to be the toughest guy, but be inside the opposition's equipment. Be annoying. Be a pest. Get that little shot in. Finish the check. Vancouver does that. Belzy and I were watching, and he goes, do you notice how the Canucks, even when the puck's moved on, there's always someone right there with an Oiler doing something inside the equipment, being an absolute pain in the side. And then where's that from the Oilers? It was non-existent from an Oilers standpoint. Give them a taste of their own medicine. We didn't see that. I know these guys are banged up. Those Vancouver Canucks guys are banged up. Quinn Hughes is banged up. I don't know what the hell's wrong with Elise Pettersson, but they're hurt too. But they're going out of their way to play you hard. The Oilers are not responding in kind. That hasn't happened. And then, you know, the cherry on top is the lukewarm response at the end with the McDavid incident.
Yeah, it just sums it up nicely. It just shows everything that happened in that game. So, yeah, to your point, with the guys on the ice, they're not going to go too far. And ultimately, no one's jumping over the boards at this point. But I get the point of it. And that's where, like, this will be an interesting response that we're going to watch for the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow, because you should want to respond for that, but you also can't let it distract you and take away from what you're trying to do, which is beat the Vancouver Canucks. Last year, they got distracted by Pietrangelo.
Yep.
And the Golden Knights were able to take advantage. You can't get distracted going into this game, but you also need to find your moments where you, one, you retaliate, but two, also, you do exactly what the Canucks did to you in Game 3.
Right.
You got to do that to them. You got to match the physicality of the Vancouver Canucks and match the tone that they're setting, especially in your own barn.
Derek Ryan, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan McLeod, Evan Bush, or Cody Ceci, and Vinny Desharnais, no hits last night. Everybody should have hits. Everybody should have hits. Even, especially defensemen should have hits. Physical play. Let's see who had. Brown had one hit. Perry had one hit. Nugent Hopkins had one hit. Ekholm had one hit. Or pardon me. Yes, he had one hit. Not good enough, man. Not good enough. Also, we got this text that came in talking about the goaltending from McLovin. Says Carolina sat Anderson for a game. I can add some context to that. Pagnotta talked about it on Hello Hockey on Saturday. Anderson wanted a day off. He wanted an extra day of rest, and they gave it to him.
So he asked
the
for
game off, and he did the same thing last year in the playoffs. I thought it was ridiculous when I heard it, but Pagnotta's like, I know for a fact. Last year he did the same thing. He asked for an extra day of rest, so he sat the game. It wasn't Carolina going, we want you to sit today. It was them being like, really? Okay, we'll respect your request, I guess. They gave it to him.
Lost, then went back to him, and he got the win. And
yeah,
we're going to see Game 5, Rangers Carolina tonight, but their season might come to an end. Seventh best scored, 780-218-99-99. Paris Jewelers inbox said, I'd start Skinner. In saying that, if he falters, how exciting we're going to Pickard with season on the line. For that reason, I could see Pickard starting Game 4. And then you tell Skinner, we need you, but take some rest and reset. So we'll find out tomorrow. I would just be utterly shocked if Chris Knoblauch went away from Stuart Skinner based on how he's produced this season and how he's come back off of losses in these playoffs. He hasn't had back-to-back losses in these playoffs. So
let's see what he does.
Give him that shot and see how it goes from there. And if the Oilers win tomorrow, it's 2-2. No one's going to be talking about Stuart Skinner possibly.
Unless he lets in some stinkers, which he has
And
clearly done.
you want to know
this
something?
series.
If the Oilers win tomorrow and he lets in stinkers, then maybe there is worth of having a conversation. You're not going to make that change necessarily, but that just means his short leash stays. That if you go to Game 5, he's on a short leash again. He's got to really go prove that he deserves to have a long leash again. I think that's the first step that's happened here is he's lost the leash. And now you got to go produce to keep that net.
Right.
Otherwise, Calvin Pickard would come in. But, somebody actually also pointed out that, Jack Campbell actually until last night played more recently than Calvin Pickard. Right? Like he hasn't had full game action or something now. So, you talk about if you lose tomorrow. Well, you really want to trust Calvin Pickard in that game tomorrow too? And look, I'm the guy, I'll say this. When he got called up, I brought up the idea on the hangout. I remember Jerry Montejong brought it up to me and stuff afterwards. Said maybe this is the guy that will do it for the Oilers, solidify the backup goaltending for the Oilers. And he did.
He did.
So, I have been in favor of Calvin Pickard for a while, but Stuart Skinner's your guy. And you go with him. And you give him that chance tomorrow to prove it. And reminder, as we said already, it's a 2-1 series.
Yep.
And this was not going to be an easy series. Anyone that thought this was going to be an easy series was giving zero credit to the Vancouver Canucks.
There were a lot of people who were giving zero credit to the Vancouver Canucks.
It didn't make any sense to me. Last Monday, I got ripped for that. But I was stunned at how many people were thinking that it was basically going to be Canucks in 3. Or Oilers in 3, Oilers in 3.
Jasmine reminding everyone, too, Skinner 9-0-1 after a loss this year. Not bad.
Yeah. And I'll be intrigued. Look, I'll also throw this out there, too, for the rest of this. I'll be intrigued to see how the team responds to this pressure that's being put on Stuart Skinner. That's a close locker room.
It is, and those players, the skaters, should be very aware of their mistakes, transgressions last night in their own zone. And listening to Warren Foegele, obviously, Foegele, by the way, that was a terrible game for Warren Foegele, and he sat because of it. I think he played just over 8 minutes. The giveaway, 1, awful, and then the stupid play.
The penalty in the bench.
The penalty in the bench. That's been a rule for a long time. You cannot touch players who are on the ice when you're on the bench. It's not new, and he did. And Murray McCourt on the hangout was talking about it. Perry was saying, don't touch him, and he still touches Zadorov. That was dumb. That was super dumb. And a veteran guy like Foegele can't be doing stuff like that. So, example A.
Bad game. I'll be intrigued to see what changes we see from Chris Knoblauch going into tomorrow. Because there will have to be some sort of changes. And maybe the Oilers get lucky and Adam Henrique's good to go when it comes injury-wise. That's a nice addition that you could put back in the lineup, but we'll see what other moves that can happen. This is the Oil Stream here on Edmonton Sports Talk, edmontonsportstalk.com. Tune in, iHeartRadio, as well as on YouTube. Portions of this hour brought to you by CoolBet. Ride with Edmonton Sports Talk all playoffs long at CoolBet. Watch for the EST parlays every game day, only at coolbet.com. We hit the Friday nighter.
Yeah,
plus 400. We hit that one. Yesterday's plus 265, I think it was. came short because we always make them around the Edmonton Oilers win. So right off the bat, that didn't help us there. But be sure to keep it locked to Coolbet tomorrow. I'll build another EST parlay for Game 4 around this Oilers game, and Coolbet always gives us that nice little boost to give us a little bit of extra action. So thanks to our partners, Coolbet, for that. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with you here. Stuart Skinner was speaking to the media. I haven't seen anything else really being said from anyone.
Since Murph's thing.
Yeah, that's kind of like the only thing that has come out of that. Also, at the same time, I don't think there is much to be said.
Yeah.
Fans don't care. And I think even for media, it's not about the words of Stuart Skinner. What's he really going to say that matters?
Well,
Right?
last
Like,
night, people were pre-quoting Stuart Skinner with, I need to be better. I'm thankful for they were mocking him, obviously, but good for him to speak today, come clean and say, the emotions caught me and got the best of me. Good. He's going to say, I need to bounce back. He's going to probably be thankful the lessons he's receiving and the experiences, yada, yada. We'll hear the positivity, but outside of that, we're in the part of the playoffs now where it's just kind of like, well, what are they really going to say? That wasn't said last night.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter. It's the performance that matters.
Right.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
You got to go out and produce. And he deserves all the heat. He deserves all the anger that Oiler fans are giving him right now, and by extension now us for saying we'd start him. And now he has to go prove that he deserves that net still.
Right.
And we'll see what happens tomorrow with that. Do you think we'll see McDavid and Draisaitl broken up? Because,
they should break them
You
up.
can't have those two guys playing 30 minutes
No.
for a game that's not going overtime.
I've seen a few texts in the nasty chat saying the bottom six has been brutal. Bottom six hasn't contributed anything. Yeah, they're barely playing. And we've seen McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins are playing like 30 minutes a night. No one else is getting into the game. This is a team that's supposed to have depth. I know they have injuries. Henrique out. I don't think he's going to – my hunch is he's not going to play. He comes out of that game yesterday. Shouldn't have played game 2. We think it's an ankle injury. Talking to Belzy yesterday, he said if it's a high ankle sprain, those things are the worst, and it might be with him. You lose that extra little push from your foot and obviously your leg. And the pain on top of that. So spread those two guys out. I've been told it's probably more strategy than injury with Draisaitl, with McDavid. Which people were thinking maybe it was to protect Draisaitl if he was banged up, but I was told that wasn't really the case.
Well, that makes sense then. If you don't want to take Leon out of the lineup, so if the way that he can produce best is with McDavid, then you do that. But if it's strategy, and that's what you're being told, then you have to break them up now. Yeah. You can't have those two together. This team is back to being, we went into the playoffs, everyone's saying this is the deepest Oilers team that we've seen in how many years.
They rolled 3 lines consistently against LA, sometimes 4.
And now we're back to talking about them being
playing
one
2
line.
lines, kind of. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and only one's really getting any of the production. Although, credit to the second power play unit last night for scoring. And
right? They had 25 seconds and they made it count.
They got the goal in. Ekholm with 3 straight goals now.
Right.
Credit to them. We got to throw some love to PP
Clicks
Unit
for
2.
power play 2.
Power play 2. Well done.
Who would have thunk it?
And who would have thunk Ekholm being a goal-scoring machine in the playoffs
beast.
to a degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, there comes a point that you got to get back to having those two guys away. But we've seen it with every coach. They just can't get away from keeping those two, they have to put them together. They have to keep them together.
And it'll be like that till they're done playing in the NHL, or what they're done is
playing together at least.
Playing together.
And whenever that might be. And so that's the big change I hope to see tomorrow. You could do some other things in the
Elevate
bottom
Holloway.
6. You could bring Carrick in. You could bring, as Murray wanted, Sam Gagner in. Those are fine moves. They're ultimately not going to be the biggest reason I think the Oilers win Game 4 or lose Game 4.
They smarten up in their own zone.
That's going to be important.
And they get to Silovs, which they kind of have.
I haven't thought he's been incredible in this series.
Yeah, he made a couple of really nice saves, just key saves.
That
something Skinner didn't do last night.
But I haven't watched these 3 games and felt the Oilers aren't going to be able to score on this guy.
Some of the goals Edmonton scored on, you're like, oh, too easy.
Yeah, they could go and light him up still in a game.
Yep.
They just have to have that one, and that the drive to go get it done, and they just haven't wanted to necessarily, it seems, through at least 2 of those games. I would also like to see, we talked about on the Hangout, them to play the games that Rick Tockett's been playing with the refs. I really want to see that.
Speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, Tockett's been working the officials prior to the start of this series. I think it has worked to a certain extent. Now we're watching the Bruins light up the refs in the other series. This one from Fluto Shinazawa and Don Sweeney saying, put the officials in front of the microphone because of everything that happened in that game yesterday and has happened in that series where it's getting super physical and chippy. LeBrun says he doesn't disagree with having on-ice officials or series supervisors available for comment to media post-game in the playoffs. More transparency is a good thing. But LeBrun thinks that the Bruins are becoming a little bit unglued. And is their focus in the right place? That's interesting. They had Don Sweeney, their GM, go out and say it. You got Rick Tocchet, who's the coach, saying it. People saying Ken Holland needs to go and put the refs on blast. Go for it. Play the game within the game. Get the gamesmanship up. I don't care. Take away some of the... Remember Gretzky at the O2 Olympics?
Yes.
I know it was forever ago. That took the heat off the team, which wasn't playing particularly great. And he took all the heat. He took all the attention. Brilliant move by him. He lit up everybody else, saying that people were taking cheap shots at his guys. And there were. Remember that Czech Republic game?
Because it was after that game,
and it was brilliant. He played it to a T. Do it. Do it, Ken Holland. I don't care. Jeff Jackson, go for it. Say it. Call all the media over. Say, I want to talk to you guys. This is crap. This is crap. The refs are missing this, this, and this. If they're listening to Rick Tocchet, that's BS. Do it. Play the game. Give us more fodder. Give us more to chew on, and then that takes some of the distraction away from the team. Lets them go out there and play, and maybe it helps on the ice.
That's where I go. I think it worked for Tocchet a little bit. It worked for the Vancouver Canucks a little bit. You got to take that back. You got to fight that game now.
Yeah.
That's now become part of this. And Chris Knobloch doesn't seem like the guy that could go do that.
No, he's very quiet.
Ryan, Ken Holland, you're almost done. Yep. What do you have to lose?
Nothing.
Hell, even Paul Coffey.
Go
Paul
for it.
Coffey, who's going to be off the bench next year.
Yeah.
Have him be like, hey, get me the media. Bring the media around me. I got something to say. What is this? Like, get someone in the organization to come out and play this game. And the example I've used also just in recent years, I remember the 76ers and the Raptors series from a few years ago where Joel Embiid was going at it, with the refs, or he kept chirping. So Nick Nurse started chirping.
Yeah.
And he started getting into it in the media and stuff. And it was a back and forth thing. And somebody's got to muck it up now with the Vancouver Canucks in the media.
Sure.
Because that's now what's happened. Rick Tocchet went after the refs, calling them out for game 2 especially. Now somebody from the Oilers has to play that game, and they have to get dirty and greasy. We can talk about the players on the ice being physical, verbally physical, or whatever you want, however you want to call it with the refs. That's where the Oilers need to go next. And I don't recall ever really seeing that with this Oilers organization over the years.
No.
And it'd be nice to see those teeth come out, and it's fascinating that you have the stuff from Boston there and Don Sweeney, and that's even the perfect guy to do it as your GM, because then your coach is focused on the next game, players are focused on the next game. GM has nothing to do right now.
Right.
They could focus on trying to turn the tide a little bit with that, and as you've pointed out, take some heat off their players. Even.
Absolutely.
You want to take a little heat off for Stuart Skinner right now? Have Ken Holland come out tomorrow and say some things.
Light up the refs. And listen, I know there's some Oiler fans, having done the pre- and post-game show for 5 or 6 years now, they're like, the league's always against the Oilers. There are 31 other fan bases that at times feel the same way you do. What it tells me, and what I think we generally do understand, is the officiating is not great in the NHL. It is not great. It hasn't been getting better. I have very little faith in it getting better, and it continues to be a problem, not just for the Edmonton Oilers, but for other teams. Clearly, if we're watching Don Sweeney come out swinging like that.
And if another, it's happening across hockey, and if another team's saying this, there's just frustration everywhere. So play that game. Someone, please, from the Edmonton Oilers, just play that game a little bit.
I have another update from the locker room.
Perfect.
From Randeep Janda out of covering the Canucks. From McDavid's availability, says Connor McDavid on eating the cross-checks. Quote, they have big physical defensemen who play the game hard. It's fun to be a part of, unquote. And then Randeep adds that McDavid refused to comment on the specific incident at the end of the game.
I don't think there's much to say if you're McDavid. Mm-hmm. There's no winning in that one. And again, the whining about the officials, it can't come from a player.
But
Can't be the players. It's got to come from someone else higher. It starts with your Chris Knobloch or higher.
Right.
That's where that has to come from. GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Tomorrow, I should just double check this one more time. 7:30 game tomorrow. Is that what I have? Yep, 7:30 tomorrow. So the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show with Tommy tomorrow. And YTT. I don't know about Cass right now. Because he texted he might not be on two guys.
Oh,
tomorrow,
yeah,
so
it might be Belzy or Gager.
Okay.
And by the way, Belzy and Cass last night, I was just like, I had turned off my mic. I let those two go because they
were great on postgame.
They broke it down so well. They were talking about, here's another thing that we haven't even talked about this game. Edmonton's PK all of a sudden is shaky. And the way they're defending the Canucks. Yes, they could get that Lindholm goal, the second one there, I thought was crap on Skinner. But the way they're defending on the penalty kill, it just feels like the Canucks have that extra second to make that extra play. And it just seems like the PK isn't dialed in the way it was against LA, certainly. And then the first game against Vancouver where it was good. It gave one up in game 2. And then yesterday it gives up 2 on 3 opportunities. So I wasn't liking the PK. And that's something we kind of forgot about. It's fallen by the wayside. And Belzy was saying, look at the routes that these guys are taking to defend. He was talking about Nugent Hopkins on the first goal on the power play that the Canucks got. He didn't like his route. They're trying to force the guys to the outside, the Canucks. But the Canucks are finding ways. They're either a step behind or they're finding that seam where guys got busted coverage in front. Canucks are taking advantage, and that needs to be shored up.
Pre-game, post-game show tomorrow. Hudson's White Ave for Tommy. We will do the qualifying momentarily here for the VIP table to Friday at the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, which will take place July 12th through to the 14th. Want to get into some text, though, quickly. 780-218-9999, Paris Jewelers inbox. Peter in New York City.
Hey-o.
Peter from NYC. We better see Carrick in Game 4 after McDavid cross-check to the face and guys with no hits. Isn't this the kind of series that we traded for? And then another texter who, only second text ever. We need Holland to challenge Alvin to a barn fight. Take the pressure off the players. Thank you for the...
That's good.
Call.
Well, you know what would
the recall to that one. Berkey versus Kalo.
Alvain's a pretty big guy, although I think he's Swedish, so I don't know how much of an inclination he would to fight. But Jimmy Rutherford against Kenny Holland, 2 older, smaller goalies from yesteryear, similar in age. Now that would be a battle.
Where does Jeff Jackson fall into this?
He'd probably, although Jeff Jackson was kind of a fighter when
That's why I'm like, he gets Jim Rutherford.
that he would be
Position
better,
versus position.
He'd stack up better against Alvin, I think.
Yeah, but it's not about that.
You're
Holland,
saying, like-
it's got to be, GM versus GM, Poho versus Poho, or like, well, I guess it's not Poho.
CEO.
I don't know. Based on the corporate ladder, the structure, that's where that would have to
I
go.
understand that, but I'm just looking at like
We're just building
tail
a
of the
proper
tape,
fight.
how they stack up. Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's qualify someone right now for the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, July 12th through the 14th, Kingsman Park. Alley Cat, the official beer of the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, which will feature the 6 o'clocker lager. Our first major event with the 6 o'clocker lager. The Friday show of Andrew Schultz and Shane Gillis, completely sold out. Saturday, Kevin Hart. Sunday, Burt Kreischer and Whitney Cummings. They are the headliners. You can get your tickets for the Saturday and Sunday still available. A limited number for those 2 days. Great Outdoors Comedy Festival. .com. The Friday Andrew Schultz Shane Gillis show completely sold out, but we want to qualify you for a chance to win the table of 4, the VIP table, which features food and drinks coming right to your table. You don't have to go pick them up. They got people delivering them to you. If you want to get in on this, 780-218-9999. Taking goalie out of this. I don't want to talk about goalie because I use this on the Hangout, not goaltending. What change would you make if you're Chris Knobloch? Text in right now to 780-218-9999, and you'll go into a draw to win, or to qualify to be in the draw next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday. The draw for Table of 4, the VIP table, to the Friday Great Outdoors Comedy Festival here in Edmonton, featuring Andrew Schultz and Shane Gillis out at Kingsman Park. We had a wonderful time on Saturday out at Birch and Bear.
Yes.
Their patio with Strathcona Spirits as we launched Birdie Booze, which is now available at Sobeys and Safeway Liquors or at Strathcona Spirits. Delicious drink.
Oh, it was
just
awesome.
delicious.
So much fun. Great time. Big thank you to Josh over at Birch and Bear and the whole staff there. And Schmitty, Andrea, and the whole crew at Strathcona Spirits, so good. And to everybody who turned out on Saturday, that was such a good time. So much fun. And Birdie Booze goes down. Good. It's going to be awesome this summer on the golf course or on the patio or anywhere. You were sipping on it the other day.
I was on Saturday night.
Yep.
I went home, grabbed some, went home, threw it on some ice,
Boom.
and it was just a delicious drink. I was drinking juice, it felt like. That's all it was.
With an extra
It was
little zip to
amazing.
it. Yeah.
Just a little extra little zip to it. Also just want to throw some love. Tomorrow, 2 guys and a goalie, myself and Joaquin Gage at this moment. GS Construction jumping on board as the presenting sponsor of 2 guys and goalie. So excited to have GS Construction as we keep growing things here at Edmonton Sports Talk. You brought it up today earlier. Tomorrow's going to be the 11-month anniversary from the shutdown of 1260. And
what a year.
A great year. I'll go that far.
It's
been a great year. It's been a better year than we could have expected. Wouldn't have expected that a year ago if you're telling me about this. But if you had told me that we would have been shut down and we're starting our own thing and what would turn into, I would have not even come close to something like this.
Now, it's been that part of it has been awesome. It's been a labor of love. Couldn't do it without our partners, our audience, obviously. What a ride. And yeah, you're right. It's the way people, when they ask about this past year and how I respond, I go, it's been an adventure. It's been hard. We've grinded through it, but we stuck together. We all trust each other. We've added 2 great young broadcasters in Zach Tecum and YouTube Trev, and then we have 3 excellent analysts that are also part of the team, and Gager, Cass, and Belzy. We're lucky. And then we got Murray on weekends with the VIP golf show. It's been a blast.
And we're going to have some Stingers action on our station throughout the summer for those listening on EdmontonSportsTalk.com or tune in or iHeart, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Click on the drop-down menu, Stingers. The full broadcast schedule will be there. But yeah, wonderful partners. Even though we're getting ripped today for our decisions on Pickard and Skinner, what we would do, we thank everyone for the support that we've gotten. And we have a beer, we have a vodka. It's amazing.
I forgot to add one more person that we've also brought on, Jay Mill.
He's been great. He's
awesome.
been lovely, except he forgot his laptop again. He forgets everything.
That's his own fault.
He just keeps forgetting things.
You and him, and then we've got the Green and Gold
kickoff post-game show. Yeah. We'll be live on this Saturday at Clark for Fan Day for the Edmonton Elks. His training camp got going yesterday for the team, but we'll be at Fan Day Clark on Saturday, and then it's June. I always get the dates wrong. I think it's June 9th. Is it 8th?
8th or 9th for the first game.
The first that's Saturday in June. It is the 8th.
Yeah.
Elks and Riders. Jay and I will be at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Fort Road all year for the Green and Gold kickoff and post-game show. So very excited about that. I did throw up a poll on our YouTube. Who would you start Game 4? Care to guess what the percentage is?
I had a quick peek. I voted.
Okay.
What's it at now?
54% saying Pickard.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a lot higher. I thought we'd be looking
People
more
are torn.
65, 70% in terms of Pickard. He's still leading the way, but I would say the people that are they're just more vocal. The Skinner supporters don't want to jump into the nasty chat and defend it.
They don't want to. They don't want to eat the wrath.
If we went in and we just went with for all the messages that said start Stuart Skinner, there weren't a lot.
No.
But it's 56 now. It's climbing 57 for Pickard. Ooh. So as I started speaking, people giving those votes for Kelvin Pickard.
I have an update on the goaltending from the rink. Brendan Batchelor is the radio play-by-play voice of the Vancouver Canucks. Also, Mike Zeisberger, who's on the beat for this one from NHL.com. They're all
coming back from health issues.
Yeah, he's got a cane now, but
yeah, he was out for a while, and
talked to him yesterday.
Which is great to see.
Good to see him. I really like him. Nice guy. He's been around forever.
Before you continue with that, there was one of the scrums. He was in the background. I know some people are like, who is that guy? And he's battled some big health issues, and he's just last round came back to covering and being back on the road. So it's great seeing him out there.
Good man. Brendan Batchelor, quote, "I'll let you guys know tomorrow morning," unquote. Chris Knobloch when asked who will start in net for the Oilers in Game 4.
Gamesmanship right there.
A little bit. Yeah.
You want to know something? If he goes with Calvin Pickard, credit to him.
Ballsy.
That's something that Jay Woodcroft didn't want to do that last year with Jack Campbell. Right. I would give full credit to Chris Knobloch for taking that shot. I wouldn't do it, but I would give full credit to Chris Knobloch if he went that way. Because it's also not easy to just bench your number one. portions of this hour of the Oil Stream. It is brought to you by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. Things just get better at Popeyes as the new crispy chicken buffalo wrap is now available too. Classic hand-battered and breaded mild chicken tenders with a bold buffalo sauce paired with fresh lettuce, tomato, mild or spicy mayo, wrapped in a soft flour tortilla, available in-store or delivery. Do we have anything left that we haven't talked about from the game yesterday?
Corey B just texted in Jack Campbell.
Stop it, Corey. I will say this, if Chris Knobloch goes to Jack Campbell tomorrow, wow. Wow is right. Even though I think I said a few months ago that I felt like if they had to make a goalie change, they'd go to Jack Campbell. They'd feel the obligation to go to Jack Campbell before Kelvin Pickard.
No.
You can't do it. But I'd understand that there'd be some pressure maybe thrown. There'd only been pressure if Ken Holland was still around. If Ken Holland was still the GM if he was locked in, I could see more pressure being thrown on Chris Knobloch to maybe get Jack Campbell as the backup or something.
I think that.
But with him gone, no one cares. He's not the organization's goalie anymore in that sense.
No, he's not.
That they could just do whatever's best. That might be one of the most freeing thing when it comes to the Oilers. Mr. Bleach, if Knobloch decides not to start Skinner, then consider him traded from the team, as he will no longer want to remain here, and it will show the fans management has no trust in their own decisions. I don't think so.
I don't think it's that severe, and I don't think he's that spiteful.
Well, he's also under contract.
Yeah. Joel says they need to fix their defense. Defense sucks ass right now, is what Joel said. All caps, so she's yelling. Matt says activate Paul Coffey. Justin of Balcony says,
you need more Charlie Huddy.
Right. Justin of Balcony says, I'd run 3 centers deep, McDavid, Dry, and Nuge. And then the coach says, separate McDavid and Leon. Mop, number 37, says, let's get tougher. Boom. Gagne in, Perry out, says another texter.
Perry out would be... He hasn't done what Oilers fans thought he would do in these playoffs. And what's wild about that one is he was doing it in the regular season, though. So I don't know what's happened to Corey Perry that he hasn't been able to match the playoff intensity.
Usually, and he hasn't risen up in any moments in this postseason. He's kind of definitely been a passenger more than a driver for sure. But in preseasons past, even in recent years, he's found moments where he scored a big goal or he does something to help turn the momentum. It hasn't really happened so far, and I think we're all waiting going, when's Corey Perry going to do something of significance to benefit the Oilers in this postseason? That hasn't happened yet. I mean, the goal that didn't go in yesterday, I don't know. Even that was kind of
Do the Oilers win tomorrow?
Do they win tomorrow? Yeah. They get their heads out of their, you know what? Strengthen
Vancouver
play
Canucks
better defense.
Vancouver Canucks take back home ice. Well, they did that last night, and it becomes a best of 3 then. And then Murray was golfing with Frank Saravalli, and he said he thinks that Frank believes that maybe Demko for Game 6 it was.
We'll find out.
Doesn't scare me at all if I'm the Edmonton Oilers, because he won't be the same goalie.
Worry about yourself first. You always need to fix their own problems before they start to worry about the other team.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. And I don't care. You could call me a homer all you want. I don't give a damn. The Oilers are good enough to have won at least 2 games of this series. It wasn't the Vancouver Canucks running the Oilers show in Game 1 or 3. They have it in them. We know that they have it in them to play better. And it's them shooting themselves in the foot more than the Vancouver Canucks beating the Edmonton Oilers right now.
Yeah.
So this series, it's a 2-1 series. Could the Oilers? I could see the Oilers rattling off 3 straight still. I can see the Vancouver Canucks ending this quickly too. It's
game to
they're
game.
Good teams,
change.
and there's no momentum game to game. We've seen that time and time again. There's no momentum game to game. So we'll see how this Oilers team responds tomorrow.
I'm gonna give the last word to Martin via the inbox. Martin Texan says, the Oilers lost to a third-string goalie last year, and they might lose to one this year. It's time that the Oilers start their third-string goalie to balance it out. Winky face emoji. Yes, a little tongue in cheek there.
Well, who is the third string? Are you saying Jack Campbell there? Because I'd say at the start of the season,
I need to.
that was Calvin Pickard. Did Calvin Pickard be a third string? We'd make that argument.
Nope.
You're done?
Nope.
You're done?
That's
We're
it.
finished?
That's it.
That will wrap up the oil stream for today. As I said, Tommy with the oil stream, GCL Diesel oil stream pregame show and postgame show tomorrow live. Hudson White Ave as the Oilers will get going 7 o'clock. 7:30 against the Vancouver Canucks. So you'll be on at 6 o'clock.
Yes,
it was
sir.
so nice that I looked at the clock and it was like 8 o'clock and we're like halfway through the first period. I'm like, this is
Normal.
lovely. This is wonderful.
Right?
Let's get more of these. So that's coming up tomorrow. Also, the morning show. I think I haven't heard anything. So Dusty and Lieutenant Eric, Dusty and Moose Jaw, as he'll get set for the game 3 of the WHL finals between Portland and Moose Jaw. That's all coming up tomorrow here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Thanks to YouTube Trev for starting the show, making us laugh. Thanks to everyone for tuning in and jumping in the nasty chat in the Paris Jewelers inbox. This has been a fun oil stream. It's been a passionate one, and we'll see how things get going tomorrow. You have one more thing?
No,
Okay.
well, the Canucks fans are getting into the nasty chat.
Well, okay, and I'm just gonna say this right now.
It's funny.
We had one that said earlier, just Oilers suck. Get more creative. I'm sorry, that's boring. Come in, but get creative. I see another one. Coilers suck. You've had all night, all day, like all night last night, all day today to come up with something more creative. Do that
You
at
can
least.
do it.
Like,
We're encouraging you to have better chirps.
just something better. Something like, wow, you said that. What, you in grade 5 or something? On behalf of Tom Gazzola and Matthew Iwanyk, thanks for tuning in to the oil stream. Oh, I have to figure out which buttons I have to click now.
Figure it out.
Well, I don't know which ones they are. I can't see them. And usually Zach's here for this part. Oh, this isn't good. Hey, boys, who's going to come here and do the extra? Oh, no, I got it. I think I got it. We'll see how this goes. Thanks for tuning into the oil stream. We're back tomorrow.